In November 2022, when ChatGPT was launched, Nvidia's market cap was about $300 billion. Ever since, to win this battle of AI supremacy, all the tech companies have spent more than $1 trillion in building better and more capable models for general public. All of that has led Nvidia becoming a $4 trillion company. Depending on who you ask, they might tell you that AI is either a bubble or it will make you jobless.
The advent of artificial intelligence is a question of human survival.
No, I'm not on fire. Those are just my GPUs.
You are in a bubble right now, Drew. The AI bubble is going to burst.
If you're not using AI at every aspect of your business, you're not going to make it.
The AI bubble is going to burst maybe as early as 2026 itself.
It was all the jobs that are likely going to be replaced by AI.
How can a company with 13 billion in revenues make 1.4 trillion of spend commitments?
It should not be legal. None of this should be legal. This is crazy.
The odds that this is very similar to a 1999 dot-com bubble are extremely high.
Brad, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. Enough.
Don't listen to the skeptics. Keep an open AI mind.
But in this video, I want to make a different proposition on how the future of AI development is actually going to look like. And if this actually happens, then SSD and RAM price will stay under $100. Nvidia will be forced to sell the RTX 5090 for less than $1,000. And the stock price will crumble down to below $1 trillion. And it all has to do with SLM. But first, it's time for a quick history lesson. Humans have always been obsessed with speed. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, we have always invested in making things faster and more efficient. The global economy has grown exponentially because of the innovations in transport, telecommunication, and manufacturing. This hunt for speed has also resulted in Moore's law driving down the cost of computation in the last 5 decades. Now, the concept of AI isn't a new thing. It's just that we didn't have enough compute resources and data to train the model at that time, as the internet only became popular in late 90s and 2000s, which enabled tech companies to gather data at a global scale. With the rise of consumer gaming, Nvidia created world's first GPU, which specialized in parallel shader computing. Later in 2004, Ian Buck took a strange interest in GPU. He saw that the GPU could only do the graphics processing, but by embedding the compute logic inside of the shader, he was able to trick the GPU in solving general computing problem, making it think that it was actually solving a graphics problem, which later inspired Nvidia to build CUDA. CUDA is the bedrock for everything from AlexNet to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, PyTorch, and many others. Ever since the invention of the Transformers architecture, tech companies have spent heavily in investing on the scaling laws in building the bigger LLMs. Nvidia bought Mellanox and started to build entire hardware stacks suitable for training. The issue was GPUs were never designed specifically for ML workload. It just happened that GPU was good at matrix multiplication, which could be retrofitted. ML is a kind of workload that requires exponential compute power and the ability to sift through data quickly. To solve this problem, a startup in Sunnyvale, California, launched the world's first wafer scale engine, currently in its 3rd generation, offering nearly 1 million cores and 44 GB of onboard SRAM, so that the data doesn't leave the chip as often. Compared to HBM, SRAM is 10 times faster. With such large real estate, you can simulate physics in real time. In case of inference, as that's where AI companies actually make money, Cerebras is the fastest in the world. To give a demo, I have Gemini and Cerebras chat in front of you. I have selected the fastest model on Gemini and Qwen 235B on Cerebras. Despite running the heavy model, Cerebras still beats Gemini in performance. Whenever you are running a coding task or agentic workflow, speed is really crucial. And after many years, OpenAI moved away from Nvidia to Cerebras for hosting its Codex model for developers. Cerebras is yet to launch its IPO, so it'll be interesting to see the battle of David and Goliath. Even Grok's LPU was kicking the butt of Nvidia when it came to inference, and seeing the competitive threat from Cerebras, Azure, AWS owns hardware solution, Nvidia decided to acquire IP of Grok along with its talent for a whopping $20 billion to stay relevant for upcoming future. More than that, I don't want to make this video a battle between hardware companies, but rather ask deeper questions from the perspective of AI development. Like, why is the industry building trillions of parameters of model which is requiring hundreds of thousands of GPU that is putting enormous pressure on the electricity grid, environment, and in some cases, making your life a living hell?
This is cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center.
Because there's no laws of physics or engineering which prohibits you in making a model as caliber as the Claude Sonnet or Claude Opus that could really run just on a single GPU. Take example of Thales chip, which can do 17,000 tokens if we burn the llama directly on the silicon in form of ASIC. Large language models are primarily made in response to what we call a narrow AI. In 1997, Garry Kasparov sat down against IBM Deep Blue for a chess match, in which he quickly realized winning against a machine would be an uphill battle. As the time progressed, ML advanced in other games like Go, Dota, and some level of vision processing. The industry argued that it could only do one thing at a time and wasn't generally intelligent. So ever since the attention is all you need paper, tech companies doubled down on the scaling laws in hope that they will achieve AGI. But we all know how that turned out.
I'm gonna run a mile and you just time me how long it takes, okay? When I say go.
You got it. I'll be ready. Just say go when you start and I'll keep track.
Okay, ready, go.
All right, I've started timing. Just focus on your run, and I'll be here when you get back.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back. I've got your time right here. How do you feel about that, Mom?
How long was it? What?
You clocked in at around 10 minutes and 12.
I swear I was faster than that.
Sometimes it feels faster in the moment.
If it's gonna save humanity, it's gotta get it right, Sam.
Maybe,
Do you need to show that to your product guys?
no, that's a known issue. Maybe another year.
LLM today are still giant fancy statistical autocomplete software, so you cannot totally eliminate the hallucination in it, no matter how much billions of dollars you spend on the compute resource. Sure, you can brute force your way out of it, which everyone is doing, but that will never be enough. Just like a kid who gets enamored by chocolates, Wall Street loves to fund exotic venture in hopes of getting high returns. And this AI boom is no different. I mean, we are talking about AGI. How could you possibly miss this opportunity? So, when the enthusiasm is high and you have got the money printer on your side, you sort of tend to have this mindset of FU money. Growth at any cost becomes your ultimate mantra. And after years of reckless spending, even OpenAI had to kill the Sora as they were bleeding money. And when you're spending billions of dollars just to make peanuts, then that obviously doesn't make a long-term business sense. Even Anthropic, who is doing relatively well, is still massively bleeding. You might think that the Claude Code Max will cost you about $200, but actual cost of running that model is about $4,000 to $5,000. And if you're a power user who abuses Claude Code daily, then your usage is costing Anthropic about $10,000 to $20,000, which is heavily subsidized by venture capital. And we obviously know that even Anthropic cannot sustain this circus for a long time. And because of this, we are facing an AI bubble. And when the AI bubble pops in next few years, it might sound strange, but OpenAI and Anthropic would have filed for bankruptcy, or they would be absorbed by the big tech. And we would be back to coding without LLMs in next coming years, because no company would ever pay for a model at such crazy prices for which you can't even hold them accountable for mistakes. Also, I'm not even considering the environmental damages that these LLMs are causing to the world. So what can we do? Remember the SLM thing that I told you at the beginning of the video? That stands for Small Language Model, or you can also call it Application Specific Models. As versatile the appeal of Swiss Army knife might look, when it's time to do the serious business, it can't compete with a surgeon's knife or large chainsaw, which are designed for specific needs. LLMs are these fancy pocket knives, jack of all trade, master of none. LLMs are good for ideation, prototype design, or any other general purpose work, but they absolutely suck at edge cases. And as complex as the human brain is, it's still divided into multiple sections performing different functions of the body. So what if we can break these large LLMs into multiple small segments to solve specific problem? If we do that, then all of this model can fit into a single GPU. Already, many LLMs are scoring well on evals, and if we want, we can tune them according to our own need. Take for example the corridor key from the corridor crew channel. The entire model only needs 6 to 7 GB of VRAM compared to hundreds of GB of HBM running a top-tier stable diffusion model. Compared to an indie developer, a typical corporation has their workflow laid out properly, and most of the time they're just actually looking to automate and increase the efficiency of human-in-the-loop process like marketing, sales, customer support, etc. Given that every company has their own unique data points, they can very well design or fine-tune existing open source model that can outperform Claude, Gemini, OpenAI, and others as well.
So it's really interesting in the history of the field because at one point everything was very scaling pilled in terms of like, oh, we're going to make much bigger models, trillions of parameter models. And actually what the models have done in size is they've gone up, and now they've actually kind of like actually even come down. Their models are smaller. And even then, I actually think they memorized way too much. So I think I had a prediction a while back that I almost feel like we can get cognitive cores that are very good at even like a billion parameters. It should be already like if you talk to a billion parameter model, I think in 20 years, you can actually have a very productive conversation. It thinks, and it's a lot more like a human. But if you ask it some factual question, it might have to look it up. But it knows that it doesn't know, and it might have to look it up, and it will just do all the reasonable things.
Plus, government, banks, hospitals, stock trading firms, insurance companies, and other agencies have their own private data, which they cannot put it on internet. And we need an army of thousands of engineers to design and build smaller models for these specific use cases. Even after the dot-com bubble, all these companies today have achieved a $1 trillion status. But that hasn't stopped the Indian IT sector from creating over 200,000 companies. So what does it really show? Simply that the world is too big for Silicon Valley to handle on its own. Right now, less than 3% of the company globally holds the capability to design and build their own ML models. The rest simply label themselves as AI-powered using the APIs of Claude, Gemini, or OpenAI. In the 90s and early 2000s, Microsoft fought hard against the Linux and open source movement, but in the end, we know that the open source won the battle. And everyone loves the open source movement as it gives you the freedom, the flexibility, and the transparency to look, modify, and even to distribute the code according to your own requirement. But none of this feature is present in this closed source model that people really use on a daily basis. The real challenge is in educating existing software developers on how to build ML models. Unlike traditional software engineering, machine learning is totally different, requiring people to know all kinds of maths and statistics. But I'm sure we will get there in next 5 to 10 years. Since companies have got accustomed to the taste of the water from OpenAI and others, it's possible that if many of them decide to invest in SLM, there will be an intense race to hire the top-tier talents at extremely high packages. So if you're interested in AI ML kind of thing, you can really start investing in this area. Again, not a career or financial advice, I'm just making a hypothesis. But let's say all of this thing came true. What will happen to Nvidia? Who will buy their $30,000 GPU? Surely the stock value will be massively corrected. So if you're invested in AI tech stocks, then be careful. With that, I really end my argument, and I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments, queries, any suggestions, please mention in the comment box and I'll be happy to get back to you. Till then, stay subscribed, stay connected, and I'll see you next time.